Many thanks, Jeffrey, for your always interesting and engaging presentation. In the interest of time, I would like to ask everyone to forgive us for not having a break session, but I suggest we go directly to the roundtable discussion. Jeffrey, may I ask you to stay behind for the roundtable discussion, please? At the same time, I would like to invite to the roundtable Roberto Gocci, Daniel, Jacques, and Ma Lianzhen. Unfortunately, the other keynote speaker, Arcilio, it's not available today. I ask other panelists, please to contribute your thoughts during the roundtable discussion. Are you all online? Let me take a look. Roberto, are you ready?
Yes.
Good. All right, looks like we're all here. I had to make sure you're here, Roberto, because my first question is directed to you. You're one of the first people within HEMA, or Historical European Martial Arts Community, to really embrace the concept of exchange. If I may say so, you take a very open attitude to inviting martial arts from different schools, from different cultures into Opera Nova to conduct exchange all the time. Now, both the conference, exhibition, and your teaching really illustrate your philosophy and commitment to this. Now, why do you think martial arts exchange between Europe and Asia, East and West, China and Italy is important?
Thank you, Ying. And I think that, first of all, I must express the feeling that moved me to do this. The feeling is the same as a young boy allowed to play together with bigger boys. Each one of us feel this when he was younger. There was always some bigger boy and it was difficult to play with them. And for me, Eastern culture in martial art was always this. So when the possibility was open in Lausanne, thank you to you, Daniel, Sarah, it was nearly incredible. Today, I have that feeling, and I have also the feeling that that young boy, and it's not me, is our martial art community, can bring a lot of energy to a common research. If you take a young boy that was not allowed to play together with bigger boys that they were used to play this game of martial art culture, like China, like Japan, then I'm sure that the young boy will bring a lot of energy in the game. So this is the feeling, which is the core. The core is the core. I mean, we are all searching something more. We are all searching something more than techniques. We are all searching new way to express. Can be the tournaments, as Ma expressed very well, can be the research in the book, or can be the amazing, incredible job that you are doing in Hong Kong, and that, yes, we will do on the complete book of Marozzo. But we can do this because the core is the same. The body of the man, the soul of the man, the meditation is the same. So doesn't matter if I come from Italian tradition, you come from Chinese tradition, German tradition, or whatever else. We can help each other to find better understanding of ourselves. This is what I think.
Thank you very much, Roberto. I think naturally I should ask my martial arts brother, Professor Ma Lianzhen, to give his point of view. What would you say are the key areas for future exchange between China and Europe? And any response to what Roberto has just said?
我拿中文来说吧。
好的。
Speak in Chinese.
Yes, of course.
我同意他的说法，我们都是孩子，就是我们其实是好奇心带着要走一辈子的孩子。那么对于武学而言，我们这一辈子都是学生，我们一直充满好奇的在追寻我们的先人曾经做过的梦。我们希望这些梦以另外一个形式可以在我们的身上被现实出来。
And we want to contribute our share in our lifetime. For this dream, we do have similarity between the dream in China and the dream in Western countries. That is to say, we do have a unification in terms of our understanding and the techniques. What we actually, I have been doing the translation simultaneously, and so that Mr. Ma doesn't have to.
Was perfect. Translation was perfect.
Yes, correct. The reason I speak Chinese is that I am a little bit of stuttering, so I'm afraid I can't make myself clear enough if I speak English. So in the past, we had a lot of swordsmen who were also stuttering, the stutters. Perhaps it's kind of a pride for me. My father used to stutter when he was a kid. Well, I was talking about dreams, and the dreams in China and the dreams in Western countries. Personally, I think one most important thing for us is that we have to keep exchanging with each other in our techniques. My father said, and I always agree with him, that only with exchanges can we promote martial arts together. And we have to keep it open all the time. Diversity will definitely drive our culture together with good, so with better structure, with better soil for growing. We have been kids, we have been learning, we have been trying to climb to the top of the pyramid. So we have to keep exchanging in terms of our literatures, our weapons, our understanding, our even in religious belief point of view. Of course, this is a wide range of exchanges. For some of them, we haven't done enough, but at least we can start communicating with each other from the technique point of view. We all can be fans of martial arts. We can all be followers of this spirituality. So personally, I do want to be a very good pupil for the Western style of martial arts. I am willing to start from zero. And even though I'm 40 years old, I can always start from the start point, from zero, once again, to learn the Western martial art, to realize our dreams together. Thank you.
All the panelists and all the people on the floor could really feel that. I understand that more than just saying this, you have actually already taken the first step. You mentioned in your presentation earlier that you sent 2 people from your school, all representing China, to go to Italy to learn Italian martial arts, together with Roberto, Jacopo, Moreno, etc. And within a fairly short period of time, actually, they also, thank you to Roberto's invitation, managed to take part in the Minsk European Games, HEMA as an exhibition competition. So could you maybe tell us more about this exchange experience? What do you think you learned? How you intend to carry this forward?
我们对欧洲武艺的了解其实非常少，我们没有任何的经验啊。那么，所以送了2个孩子去意大利学习，对于我们来说非常的陌生。我很羡慕2个孩子，其实我很想去，但是我没有办法，我要工作。 但是我觉得这是一个很重要的第一步。第二步呢，是我们会非常正式的邀请我们的朋友们到中国来。我今年已经开始尝试邀请中国嵩山少林寺的武僧开始学习Roberto Gotti 的这些武艺的内容。那么我们希望呢，通过这种交流，可以将中国更多的武艺的
we can teach the Chinese people to know more about the Western arts. And I believe that this will definitely enrich our exchanges and more diversified. I hope that we can have a long-term mechanism. We can learn from each other. We can visit each other regularly. They can come to China. We can go to your country. So this kind of exchanges plus wines and cuisine, definitely, I believe that everybody will enjoy it. So as for the Minsk experience, well, I believe that this is a kind of an impact to me. After the Minsk event, we set up a team of 8 people to start a professional training on the combat, kind of a brutal and a rough training. It's not very well organized yet, not that systematic training yet. However, this experience, I believe that for all people in the martial arts circle in China, you know, most of the martial arts fans, they are not that interested in combating with each other for competing with each other. I just want to bring martial art back to its nature, to its essence, to release your power, your strength, and play the game in the safest way, just like in the ancient time people did. So this is also a way to grow our martial arts. Of course, personally, I do not agree to the simple duplication of the combats in the past. We want to follow to its essence. This is spirituality. Of course, I believe that the rejuvenation must be a long journey, and we just started our journey. And please treat me as a pupil, a humble, very humble pupil, and I will definitely make my journey forward together with you and promote our exchanges between China and Italy. Thank you.
I think what you just said has opened up a number of questions once again, but I ought to give an opportunity for other panelists to speak. You have talked about the wish and the need perhaps to focus on technical exchange, which indeed has already started between China and Italy. Now, maybe you also mentioned the fact that exchange in martial culture could take many forms. Martial arts studies research, the exchange in understanding knowledge and craftsmanship skill in sword making, for example, which is something we'll also touch upon today and yesterday. But I would like to turn attention to Daniel. I would like to ask you, as one of the leading researchers in historical European martial arts, you're also one of the first people in that space to start to reach out and work with us and to extend your sphere of attention, academic attention, to East Asia. Do you think there's a need for the research communities across the continents, Europe and Asia, to work more closely together? And are there specific areas you identify as being particularly important or else easier or viable?
Thank you for the question. I think for me, it is easy to answer, but I would just speak for the audience as well, because I think we are all weird animals. We combine different things. We are martial art practitioners, we are museum curators, we are researchers, and we also have another life. So this is completely crazy. We are very, very special animals. And I think we have found ourselves, and this is matching together. But now if I was thinking how to extend or improve these exchanges, with other research communities, this is a hard question, actually. But I think if you ask me what specific area would be fruitful for research purposes, comparing East Asian material to European material, well, European material is very diverse. There is a lot to work on this. And East Asian material, I still today don't have a clear view of what it is on actual material primary sources. So I think, since this is easy for me because I am an historian and manuscript specialist by training, but I think this would be one element, very important, or one way to focus on. is to study the actual primary sources and compare them together. We have started this with other colleagues. We are doing this in European way. We just have to include you in this endeavor. So this is one actually fairly easy research direction and research endeavor we could go and walk together on this path. I think that would be my first and foremost one. There are others, but let's just deal with this one first.
All right, we have opened up two very important topics already. One is on technical exchange, in actual exchange in what we call historical martial arts. The other is the comparative study and indeed collaboration on the study in historical written traditions across Europe and Asia. Now, the third aspect, I dare say, that we have started already is the use of technology. On this note, I would like to turn to Jeffrey. You, Sarah, and myself together 7 years ago now, co-founded the Hong Kong Martial Arts Living Archive. At the time, our ambition, our thoughts were not quite so broad. It wasn't encompassing the historical traditions, and it was very Hong Kong focused. In addition, you have pioneered the use of new media, motion capture documentation, archiving, representation. Some of the results we have already presented in the last presentations, particularly in the museum context. Now, significant breakthroughs have been made over the last couple of years, particularly in terms of developing new annotative strategies for historical martial arts. What role, in your view, will digital technologies and the digital platform play in the future for knowledge transmission for the martial arts? And how can we further the use of technology in brokering this exchange and comparison between historical European and Chinese or Asian traditions? Jeffrey, please unmute yourself.
Yeah, thank you, Hing. Yes, indeed, 7 years. It's been a long and enjoyable journey with lots of discoveries along the way and lots of wonderful opportunities, I think, to bring the work we've done to the general public. So I think that actually our research has been going, has focused on two aspects. One is on how to bring the archive, how to bring the documentation into the public sphere, and how to innovate, museological methodologies for presenting this information. And I hope from the presentation I gave earlier today that I gave some sort of indication of this variety of platforms that we've developed and the variety of platforms that are yet to be developed that will enable this sort of archival research to be brought to a general public and engage a general public, and also help a general public to gain an appreciation of these materials. And indeed, using contemporary technology means that we can address, in a way, a contemporary audience who are very familiar with these new media. The other aspect, of course, are all the, the digital representations, so that once you have the mocap data, you have extraordinary opportunities to reinterpret that data. And we've just really, I think, just touched on it. I mean, often we've been simply exploring the aesthetic pleasures of reading these movements in different ways. But certainly I think there is a whole future in terms of scientific analytics. In other words, these strategies of visualization that are going to actually give us a deeper understanding of these martial arts practices, so that they will be both an aesthetic augmentation, but also a truly functional augmentation in terms of our understanding.
Thank you very much, Jeffrey. I think on the two aspects, how to extend from the representational side to the merely aesthetic, or to the beautiful to something that's more scientific and could shed light on ancient principles and bringing them back and presenting them in a digital, contemporary, and easy to understand visual manner. It's something that we're already embarked on, as I tried to show in the last illustration in my presentation. Now, going back to the archiving aspect, actually, this is a discussion that I've had with Daniel, with Roberto, with all of you, and particularly with my brother, Ma Lianzhen, because as Daniel rightly pointed out, Europe has made significant advances in making a lot of these treatises from the 16th century, but indeed also from the 15th all the way to the 19th, have everything scanned and digitally available on a centralized platform. Now, whereas my teacher, Professor Ma Mingda, has done a lot of work on textual studies and has indeed published 2 years ago the most important compendium on historical martial arts. That is in the physical space, not in the digital domain. So how to bring these two closer together is something that we think about. And from our point of view, I think, you know, Jeffrey, how when we started the Hong Kong Martial Arts Living Archive, because we're working with living traditions, we were mainly dealing with the digitization of embodied knowledge, not textual knowledge as such. But I think the whole conversation of historical martial arts, which has a very profound, rich and multidimensional textual tradition, really open up the discussion of how to combine the embodied knowledge, the performance, the human body on the one hand, and the text on the other. Now, I would like to take this opportunity to throw the question both to Ma Lianzhen and to Daniel to have your view, please.
Who's going first?
Go ahead.
Yeah.
So, can you speak first?
Okay. So your question now is about reaction to these strategies, opportunities of visualization of embodied knowledge using technology regarding to the study of research of historical European martial arts or Asian martial arts, correct?
My question is also that, first of all, pointing to the fact that in Europe, you have already constructed a centralized platform where a lot of this knowledge, a lot of the text are uploaded, whereas in Asia, we haven't. So is there an opportunity for Asia and Europe to work together to create an archive that will combine and contain the textual information from both the primary sources, from both Europe and Asia, but also act the other dimension, which is what we have been doing in Hong Kong with Jeffrey, but also with Sarah in Switzerland on the embodied digital representation. Can we do that? Can we take 2 steps at once, not one?
We wrote together an application for funding with part of this. So we were hoping that university will trust us to leap forward. For now, our application did not meet success yet, but this project is still going on. Yes, of course. And I think mixing up primary sources with interpretation of its primary sources through reconstruction, using visual documentation, motion capture documentation, is one step ahead. You have done tremendous work with the living archives in the Hong Kong Hakka Kung Fu Living, and you've done that so much with this digital set already. So several exhibitions, publications, and also as a research, it is something that has not been mentioned yet. I think that would be very interesting is to consider the possibility to go for cultural heritage as intangible cultural heritage for UNESCO. So cultural partners. So there has been, I know that this is a sensible area, and I don't want to dive our roundtable into this, but I think this is also interesting. At least we can present this as such. Now the real question is what we are doing here in Europe, what you are doing reconstructing old or keeping alive old traditions in Asia. Is this intangible cultural heritage? And can we build an archive around this? And can we build this data set and do multiple things with this? This is exhibitions, of course, documentation and visualization for the public. That is research. And this is, for me, one key, you said in Europe, we have already something centralized. It's not actually, because this is a wiki-like platform by a private initiative. So there is no institution behind it. So yes, we have to build this, and we can build it together. We should.
Question, how?
Let's hear what Professor Maljensen has to say, and then we'll come back maybe.
我觉得第一步
I think the first step, we need to resolve the conceptual issues, so understanding. Now, this is an issue apparently. We are studying the ancient source in China, but what about the ancient source in Japan, in Vietnam, so on and so forth? So it's a thing that our understanding on some concepts are different geographically. For example, the swordsmanship in Japanese culture and in Chinese culture, they are not exactly the same thing. And also, for example, the concept of a sword in China and the in China, the concept of knives, there can be some overlaps, right? Because we don't have unified concepts because of different cultural backgrounds. So before we dive into the researches, perhaps it's better for us to reach an understanding, common understanding on some concepts. So at least we must play ourselves at the same level before we start the game. So for example, this is for the court, this is for an ordinary person, and this is for something else. It's better to have this kind of a common understanding and clarification. Among the researchers for ancient weapons, there has been some issues. One of the issues is that sometimes when we talk about weapons, it is tend to be, the definition tend to be very generic. Different types of knives, they're all called knives. However, at the different levels, their definitions can be different as well. And also at different time periods in history, they may refer to different things at all. So we have so many differences in China, let alone between countries. So I think such differences may influence how we understand and how we look at some conceptions. Another thing is that talking about technology, we have to understand what is the overall composition or structure of technology. For me, I think at least we have to understand what is the basic technology. For example, what is the content of training? What is the content of a strategy? What is the content of maintenance, repair, so on and so forth. So we must have this kind of clarification before we dive into the details of a technology. So based on our common understanding of the details, based on our understanding of concepts and the cultural backgrounds, then I believe that we will be speaking the same language and we can discuss more details in the future. For example, I have been reading literatures on Chinese swords for over 10 years. And for the traditional literature, for the arrow, not swords, the arrow shooting. So actually, when another person begins to read about this Chinese literature, his understanding may be different from mine. So I believe such differences must exist. So before we start, it's better to get a common understanding first. Thank you.
Is there such a thing as common value?
Killing each other. No, this is a joke. I think that to answer, we have first of all to organize another exhibition. So please follow me for 1 second. This is why I am not in the MAM, because this night we had 5 Irish wolfhound just born and I did not sleep. And because we have 5 Irish wolfhound born, we must search for 5 culture for the big exhibition that we are planning, and that will be in the hand of you and Jeffrey Shaw and Daniel, in the castle of one of the most famous condottieri of Italy, Colleoni, Bartolomeo Colleoni. And in that castle, that is enormous, and we have rooms for do many things, I would like you to help us and the Brescia Museum Foundation that is with us to build an exhibition with Italian, German, and Spaniard, correct, Manuel? We say Spaniard, correct? Spaniard martial art. But also, we have to choose the other 4 kids. We have 5 Irish wolfhounds, so we have European, we have Chinese. Then, of course, we need Japanese. I suggest for New Zealand Maori culture, only because I have a good collection and I have the books of Captain Cook depicting the weapon. And now you must search the 5th one. And we will do this exhibition and we will search deeply for common culture. I think that common things there are much more than differences. I say killing, 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 because I think that at the end of the story is an art on how to hit without being hitted. And this is the big, big problem that I will not open today about stupid sporty attitude of who hit first. But this is another discussion that will live in another place. So yes, there is everything in common. You need your thin mind applied to your built instinct to do techniques without thinking about techniques, to eat your opponent before your opponent eat you, and also not allowed him to eat back. This is the main common thing. The other is that to do this, you need to do really. I still want to ask you to speak about your Chinese philosopher and martial artist that say that Confucianism cannot be only in the mind or in the speech, but must be in action, but you will not do. So this is what we have in common. And I have a gift for you and Jeffrey Shaw. He is already built and is already under patent a system that will allow all of us to play like in a video game with our body. And this system that will need all the effort of Professor Shaw and Sarah will present on a screen our actions with where you hit, how do you hit, with which part of the blade you have hitten, and which energy was in your hit on your opponent. And this is done. We just need now to do it in an industrial way. This is in your hands and in Professor Shaw's hands. Is now made for a curved one-end blade. So my friend Ma will be happy because it's not two-handed, it's one-handed. And it's perfect because as Pirates of Caribbean show to us, there were pirates everywhere. So we choose as a weapon the German Dusak. So my friend Daniel Jacquet and all the German crowd, my friends that I have around, they will be happy. We have this leather Dusak that is a weapon that was for the Chinese pirates, Italian pirates. Oh, sorry, Germans, they have a sea. Yes, they have a sea, but they have no pirates. They have no, So, and we can use this tool that was a common tool to test each other on the same battlefield, to defeat each other. And by defeating each other, to push us to be better. Because when Ma will hit my nose and will hit my unuseful head, and that is the Dussac, correct, Daniel? With the later Dussac, with all this information coming out on a giant screen that Professor Shaw will supply to us, then we can be pushed to be better. So this is a plan for your next 2 years conference. Tell me which is the fifth culture that you will bring in.
You mentioned 5 already, Roberto.
No, Italian, Japanese, Chinese, Maori. European mean German, Spaniard, and Italian all together. Okay. Japan, China, Maori. What else?
All right, I'm not going to be drawn into answering this question. Thank you, Roberto, very much for your thoughts. I think you have advanced our discussion on technical exchange and on technological exchange and collaboration a step further, and we have a target, 2022. Let's work towards that. However, I want to go back to what Daniel raised earlier and what Ma Lianzhen raised earlier, which is about finding a context, creating a framework for study. Now, the easiest way, in my view, to create this framework where different cultures to speak to one another is to go back to historical moments when different cultures actually met in time, met on the battlefield, met on the point of the blade at sword and death. And I think two of our speakers over the last 2 days have touched on 2 very important points where cross-cultural exchange in martial culture, in conflictual exchange, to use Ma Mingda's words, actually happened, namely the Longobardi culture, as well as Spanish civilization in the 16th century. So can I maybe use this opportunity to invite our distinguished panelists, Cristiano and Manuel, to speak. I will ask Manuel to go first, primarily because I know you will speak in English. Cristiano, I hope you can speak in English as well. Otherwise, I will have to ask my good friends, Roberto Moreno or Jacopo to translate.
Jacopo, it's much more better.
Manuel, please. Hello, Manuel, can you hear me?
Hello, yes, I can. Yes, as I speak before, there's more than technical facts. There is a lot of philosophy, a lot of moral issues in fencing, and as you can see, probably in different cultures there are points of common ground. No? As I told you, in the 16th century, there was a exchange from Japan to Spain. There was an embassy from the rulers of Japan. They sent people to Spain, and there also was they were in Peru, in America. There was a colony of Japanese, and they were allowed to wear arms, swords, and they were treated as nice because there was a kind of a common culture of the weapons. There was an exchange. Perhaps it's not as frequent as now. Now we have globalization, but as we can see, we know very little of another culture. We know almost nothing of the rich Chinese tradition of fencing. We know only some part comes to the European countries. Even between European countries, each national of peculiar tradition is only known by people from, for instance, the destreza is known only because everything is written in Spanish. There's a lot of difficulties to transmit to the English-speaking people because you have a lot of sources, but only in Spanish, no? And we haven't been a lot of problems to translate because it's a peculiar language, and it's a different from actual languages, and then we have the issues for translation. So because I think that there's a lot of work to be done and in this field. I just think it's, well, I'm very, very interested in this is change because it's very, very, very enrichment.
Thank you very much for your reply, Manuel. Certainly, if we look back into history, Spain, of course, was a very important global empire, one of the first seaborne empire. Your influence reached as far as the Philippines, Southeast Asia, Japan, also China, particularly in Taiwan. So I think these are probably some of the historical hints where martial exchanges might have occurred in a serious and profound manner, to which maybe academic attention has not been brought to bear enough. Now, the same question I asked you, I just want to see if Cristiano would like to give also a reply in relation to Longobardi culture.
Sentite?
We can hear you.
Ok. Chiedo all'amico Roberto se mi traduce perché non ho capito la domanda.
La domanda la traduco io, ma chiedo a Jacopo, per favore, col suo inglese bellissimo, sicuro migliore. I asked to Jacopo with his English.
Il mio inglese è pessimo.
His
Ho
English
bisogno di un traduttore.
Much more better than his performance in Hong Kong. I asked him to translate. So, la domanda, Cristiano, è la seguente. Punti di incontro tra culture, punti di scambio durante la storia tra culture marziali, se puoi dare la tua visione, parlando appunto anche di Longobardi, perché quello che cercheremo in futuro è sempre più di analizzare i punti di incontro tra le culture marziali.
Sì, un punto di incontro tra la cultura marziale longobarda e quelle asiatiche sicuramente c'è stata nel periodo in cui i Longobardi hanno stanziato in Pannonia, quindi nella regione più a est dell'Europa.
Okay, so a point of meeting contacts between cultures has been in the periods in which Longobardian were in the Pannonia region, which is an east region of Europe.
Durante quei 40 anni in cui i Longobardi si sono fermati lungo le pianure della Pannonia, sono entrati in contatto e hanno fuso le loro culture anche con le popolazioni delle steppe.
Okay, there were, scusami Cristiano, ma traduco man mano. There were 40 years of presence in that region, and that was an occasion of merging cultures between people of Longobardian and people from East lands.
E lì hanno portato la loro cultura germanica, quindi fortemente europea, e l'hanno unita con quella appunto più orientale, portata appunto dalla cultura dei popoli delle steppe, i quali poi dopo, spostandosi sempre più verso est, diciamo, arriviamo fino alla Cina volendo.
Okay, and there the culture of Longobardian, basically German type culture, typical of European West regions, were in contact with all the Asian culture, and that was a point of contact between East and West, of course.
Per cui io penso che proprio il cuscinetto di unione tra le due culture, quella più asiatica e quella più europea, possa essere avvenuto proprio in quell'occasione, in quel momento storico e in quella posizione geografica. Ecco.
So that precise moment in time and in that specific region could have been a possible point of contact between cultures from East and West.
E comunque già in epoca romana ci sono stati contatti tra l'impero e l'Oriente. No? Non è stata una novità quella con i Longobardi, era già qualcosa che comunque esisteva già da molto prima. Probabilmente non probabilmente, sicuramente con i Longobardi c'è stato un contatto maggiore, no? Tra le culture, perché poi i Longobardi hanno avuto durante tutta la loro esperienza di migrazione dal nord verso l'Italia, hanno avuto contatti con tantissime popolazioni. Altre popolazioni germaniche hanno avuto contatti con i bizantini e hanno avuto contatti appunto anche con le popolazioni più asiatiche. E loro hanno saputo sempre unire la loro cultura con quella delle popolazioni con i quali entravano in contatto, e quindi fare tesoro e fare bagaglio degli aspetti anche delle altre culture, assimilarli. Per cui quando poi sono arrivati in Italia nel 568 avevano comunque un bagaglio culturale che non poteva più neanche definirsi proprio tipico longobardo, perché avevano fuso tutta una serie di culture diverse, tra cui buona parte di quelle appunto delle popolazioni delle steppe.
Okay, so we have already proofs of point of contacts between cultures already in the previous ages, like during the Roman time. We have some proof of presence of Roman in contact with Asian areas. But the importance of Longobardian people is that they have the ability and they have the feature of merge their culture with every kind of people and every kind of culture they met during their long travels. And so when they arrive in Italy, they carry with them something that was not anymore Germanics, that something that was already the results of different cultures altogether. So Asian aspect, as an Asian feature of cultural contacts were brought to Italy by Longobardian people, and there they met the Italian culture and they merged again. So there was in a certain sense, Longobardian, I think I understand, are an example of different culture that come together and that build something new.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Cristiano. That is a very, very good answer. And thank you for sharing your insights on the historical role that the Longobards have played in bridging cultural exchange, particularly in the field of martial culture between East and West. All happy occasions have to come to an end, unfortunately. We have overrun again the time originally assigned for the roundtable discussion. Before bringing the roundtable to an end, I just want to collect further thoughts, final comments that any panelists wish to make. Any who wishes to make any further comments? Jeffrey? Please unmute yourself if anyone should wish to speak.
Okay, unmuted. Okay. I'd just like to say that both Sarah and I have really, as artists, we've really enjoyed the challenges that have come up in the process of working together with you and with Roberto and with the whole team. As I said, as I wanted to clarify in my presentation, I do believe that the experience of new media art can bring a lot of value, of new insight and new value to intangible cultural heritage in general and to this specific field. And we really look forward to working together with you all into the future.
Thank you very much, Jeffrey. Daniel, as co-chair of the conference. Perhaps you'd like to say a few words about your reflections on the organization of the conference.
Well, thank you, Hing. I've been to the second conference. I've now played a small part in the third one. What I can say is that I'll be at the fourth one. No, I think it was an excellent conference, very, very packed. And we have opened a few roads that are worth digging into. And we are pioneers, and let's walk the road together. Yes, of course, I'm happy. And yeah, if that would be my concluding words. Then let's do the next one. Perfect.
I think our friend Roberto has already set the target. There will be another exhibition and another conference in 2 years' time. And this time it will be hopefully in Europe. So I think the ball is back in your court and in our good friend Sarah's court, hopefully. My brother Ma Lianzhen, do you have any other final words you would like to say before we wrap things up?
To
everybody, actually, I have learned a lot from everybody, and welcome to China. I will definitely invite you to a good dinner.
That you could have from Professor Ma. Taking this opportunity, I just want to extend my most heartfelt thanks to all speakers at the conference today and yesterday. I would also like to take this opportunity to thank everyone on the panel. Many of you are already on the organizing committee, but let me repeat. Myself, of course, Daniel, Roberto, Lianzhen, Ausilio Priuli, Enrico, Faseriati, Hu Xiaojun, and Cristiano Brandolini. I would also like to take this opportunity to thank our support team, Ricky, our technical support in Hong Kong. I would like to thank Cami and Lara, who have been our coordinators for the past weeks, respectively in Hong Kong and in Italy. And in particular, my thanks to the indispensable Angelo Choi, who has been the chief event coordinator and really going out of the way and doing an amazing job managing two major events, the conference and our Way of the Sword exhibition at the same time. I just want to add that we want to be a bit more ambitious than the target that Roberto has already ambitiously set us. Over the last 10 years, we have organized 3 conferences. In the future, we wish to do it not once every 2 years, but once every year. So our target is to organize the 4th International Martial Studies Conference next year, and then the year after, and then every year following on from that. Another announcement I wish to make to everyone gathered here is that all the presentations, all the keynotes, all the discussion, including the final panel, have been recorded, and these will be posted on Facebook, YouTube, etc. in the next week or so. There will also be a proceeding, so a more detailed publication of the research papers selected from these 2 days will be released, hopefully also in the first half of next year. So on this occasion, I would like to thank you all. I wish also to see you again soon in the next conference. Sorry if we were unable to answer all the questions, but I wish you everyone a good evening in Asia and Hong Kong and China, and a lovely day ahead in Europe. Thank you, and see you all again soon. Bye-bye.